we got to scale up. One thing is for sure, we cannot just continue going by a project approach. We have, as not only three of us, the three agencies, what I will call the whole development community, has to really look at ways. Obviously, we need to have much more synergy between the different actions. We saw colleagues from different NGOs as well. But globally, we need to scale up.
About 240 million people on the continent go to bed hungry. Over 200 million suffer the debilitating symptoms of chronic to severe malnutrition, which also contributes to over 50% of infant mortality on the continent. The region currently spends more than $35 billion annually on food imports, while recorded annual productivity losses amount to $48 billion as post-harvest losses, and a further 6.6 billion tons as potential green yields are lost due to degraded ecosystems. Food enough to meet the annual needs of approximately 30 million people. Exacerbating these challenges is rapid population growth projected to hit 1.5 billion by 2030 and 2.4 billion by 2050. Youth unemployment currently at 60%, with an annual estimated 350 million young people entering the labor market by 2035. And climate change expected to hit the crucial agriculture sector with 11 to 40% yield reductions on key staples.
When you look at the drivers, you see that everyone in the sector actually has a role that they can play. Because we see as the major drivers as disruption between farms and markets. Produce not getting to market because of many logistical issues, but also because of quality issues. Rejections due to insufficient quality or aesthetic standards, and etc. We saw also the lack of appropriate technology, appropriate and accessible technology. During the development of this work, actually, we looked at over 290 innovations and solutions that have been developed for this. But we realized that almost virtually none was really reaching the farmers at scale. And when we look at this issue to do a narrow eye analysis, we saw that oftentimes these technologies were not very appropriate, or they were not very accessible or affordable, or just there is an issue of awareness of their existence. So, which tells us that that driver is a lack of access to technology, and it was very important to take that into account. The second, and another one, is also lack of financing, because even if these technologies are available, access to finance to actually be able to acquire those technologies also is a problem.
On the contrary, in developed countries, food loss in the middle stages of the supply chain is relatively low due to availability of advanced technologies and efficient crop handling and storage systems. However, a large portion of food is lost at the end of the supply chain, known as food waste. Food security and income generation aside, food loss also has substantial environmental repercussions, contributing to a waste of natural resources such as fertilizer, pesticides, land, and water. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization, the food lost or discarded each year accounts for 3.3 billion tons of carbon dioxide emissions globally. Water used globally for irrigation to grow food that is wasted would meet the domestic needs of 9 billion people.
If we were to look at the greenhouse gases emission footprint, and if you considered food waste and loss as a country, it will be the third biggest emitter after China and the United States. So then you can see that the impact is way beyond just food security, it's also about sustainability.
Post-harvest loss accounts for direct physical losses and quality losses that reduce the economic value of crop or may make it unsuitable for human consumption. In severe cases, these losses can be up to 80% of the total production. In African countries, these losses have been estimated to range between 20% and 40%, which is highly significant considering the low agricultural productivity in several regions of Africa. According to the World Bank report, sub-Saharan Africa alone loses food grains worth about $4 billion every year. These losses play a critical role in influencing the life of millions of smallholder farmers by impacting the available food volumes and trading values of the commodities. In addition to economic and social implications, post-harvest losses also impact the environment, as the land, water, and energy used to produce the lost food are also wasted along with the food. Unutilized food also results in extra carbon dioxide emissions, eventually affecting the environment. The land used to grow the food is another valuable resource that goes to waste due to these losses. A study conducted on rice post-harvest losses in Nigeria estimated that the lost paddy accounted for 19% of the total cultivated area. On the global scale, about 1.4 billion hectares of land was wasted by growing food that was not consumed in the year 2007, an area larger than Canada and China. The rice losses have been reported as low as 3.51% in India to as high as 24.9% in Nigeria. Based on the 24.9% loss, the value of the total grain loss during the rice supply chain in Nigeria was estimated as 56.7 billion naira.